Unfortunately, it is not an April Fool's joke. So if you would please join us in the pledge of allegiance, and Mr. Gordon, would you please do that?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mary, can we please have roll call?
Mayor Pro Tem Scott Funk,
Present.
Councilmember Le Silva,
Present.
Councilmember Lorraine Worthy,
Present.
Councilmember Mario Orozco.
Present.
And Mayor Jose Rios.
Present. And moving on the agenda, we have a presentation from the Heaven Ranch project. So those are putting it all yours.
Thank you, Mayor Rios, and good afternoon, City Council, City staff. My name is Randy Pura, and I'm with TAP Agricultural Partners. And we really appreciate you inviting us to put on this workshop today for our renewable energy project that we're planning to do out on the Old Fast City property. There is a question and answer session at the end of this presentation, but if there are questions during the presentation, please feel free to go ahead and ask them. The presenters today are myself on behalf of TAP Agricultural Partners, Patrick Matthews for the Salinas Valley Solid Waste Authority, Tim Israel for Amoresco, Taylor Farms, Jason Sedano, I believe, is calling in on Zoom, but I will cover that as well. And then Sean Kilgore with Machado and Company. Next slide, please. So our understanding of the key priorities right now for the city of Gonzales is housing, the community center, and I'm looking forward to coming to the groundbreaking on April 27th. Carmen, is that right? Yep. That'll be good. The wastewater treatment expansion, and all of this leads into jobs, and everything should be done in an environmentally sustainable way. So that's our understanding of your priorities, and unless we miss something, let's move on to the next slide, please. So the city of Gonzales sponsored and hosted a planning session back in August of this past year with PG&E in attendance to brainstorm the future demands of energy and electricity for the city of Gonzales. And what we determined at that meeting was that the current use is about 40 to 50 megawatts. The future additional demand is 30 to 40 megawatts, and that includes 6.5 megawatts from all of the residential development projects, 6 to 9 megawatts for the Rio Grande Cooler. Business park expansion by the existing tenants could be 3 to 6 megawatts. Our own ag-related activities at the Heavenly Valley Ranch could be 5 to 15. We think that there might be some additional needs at Constellation Winery, but we're not sure about that. And then there should be some additional electrical requirements for the wastewater expansion, as well as the freshwater pumping to service the new residents in the residential development. Thank you. The conclusion of that meeting was that PG&E has very limited supply available, and will have limited supply available at all for the next several years. And obviously that's a concern in terms of how that fits into the development plans and the growth plans for the city of Gonzales. PG&E expressed the possibility of doing 3 projects to expand their supply over the next 3 to 15 years. The first would be to double the size of the current substation in town. It is space limited, so they can't increase it a whole lot. They figured they could get it to 20 to 30 megawatts. Pull power from the north substation north of Soledad and bring that up. That's about 6 to 10 megawatts, and that would take 3 to 4 years. I think the substation expansion is also about a 3 to 4 year project, from what I understand. And then the final point, which is kind of a 50-year plan, is to build a new substation, 90 megawatts. And that would be a 15-year lead time if they go through the CUPC. However, if they do it with a private entity, as part of the entity's EIR, they could get that done in 3 to 5 years. So what we have is a demand scenario that is challenged by the PG&E existing supply scenario. And the solution that we've come up with is to do a renewable energy project in 2 phases at the Heavenly Valley Ranch, do it in conjunction with the Gonzales Electric Authority, and provide green energy to the city for all of its future growth and projects. And that's what we're going to present today. Just to refresh you where we are, I think everybody has a Fat City story, or more than one. I mean, I've heard about, high school drinking and a variety of other things. I had my 1978, I landed on the airstrip there. So I'm familiar with that property as well. It's about 1.5 miles east of city limits on Iverson and Johnson Canyon Road. What's interesting to note here is between the housing and the city limits today and the Heavenly Valley Ranch property is the Vista Lucia development. So once that annexation is approved and takes place, then the Heavenly Valley Ranch property will be contiguous and adjacent to the Vista Lucia property. And that's, I think, is significant. It could be a kind of a logical connection to our project. Next slide, please. Just a point of interest is that the Heavenly Valley Ranch has 13 legal parcels, which gives us a lot of flexibility in terms of locating, whether it's a substation or locating phase 1 or phase 2, we can move it around on the property, probably do lot line adjustments, and be able to really customize it and fit it in. So that's a positive. I'm going to turn it over to Patrick Matthews now. I think you all know Patrick, so he's going to describe phase 1 and then hand it off to Amoresco and to Machado, and then I'll take it back and wrap it up. Thank you.
Good evening, council members. It's been a while. Thank you again for having us here. So this is actually a pretty exciting project for us. Next slide, please. So as you know, the authority, you've all heard SB 1383, our focus on organics recovery. A project like this really fits in very well with our long-term goals, and that is to continue to recover more and more of the organic material that is in our waste stream or is in our agricultural waste stream that's looking for new locations. So the beauty of this is while we're doing a great job of making compost, there's also a lot of other material out there that we're looking at recovering that really has an energy value and can be used for generating electricity for on-site needs, both for ourselves and Heavenly Valley, but also in the long run can also be potentially provide an alternate energy source to support the city's growth as well. So with that, our focus really is on 3 things. 1, what we're already doing today, which is composting our curbside materials. 2 is culls. I know our board we've talked a little bit about a possibility of doing a project with Amoresco and their partner Machado in building digesters that can take our agricultural culls and convert those to energy. This is really an offshoot of that original discussion we've had over the last couple of years. Much broader project that really has even more benefit than the original project. And for us, it really is about meeting those mandates and finding a beneficial use for all that organic material that we're trying to get out of the Johnson Canyon landfill. Next slide, please. So really the authority's role in this is that since we're already producing methane at the landfill, natural or landfill, we call landfill gas. That is about 50% methane. It's also referred to as biogas. Right now, we're making enough electricity to run about 1,500 homes, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. But unfortunately, we're generating way more landfill gas than we're using because when the first project was done, there were changes in regulations and markets, and it became not economically viable to continue to build additional generation equipment because of the costs of interconnection and other things. So right now we're flaring a fairly significant amount of landfill gas that we'd really like to see put to beneficial use. So we brought in Amoresco to do the first project. They have the rights to our gas and are very interested in this as well because projects, what we call across the fence projects with an adjacent user, as well as the adjacent city long range growth. Those types of projects actually are potentially economically viable than the traditional dropping it into the grid. So with that, the authority's role in this project really is to simply, one, run the CEQA process. We would actually lease, long-term lease property from Heavenly Valley. We would relocate our existing generator system over there, as well as the expanded system to produce additional energy that again would be available for all of the uses that we've already outlined. And the authority would function as the lead agent for that, as we do with all of our projects. We would actually be the CEQA lead agent on that. That helps expedite the project, move it forward a little bit faster. This gives us, again, an opportunity to use the rest of our landfill gas and also to create a new source of energy by digesting organic material that is not currently being recovered in our compost system. So those of you that aren't familiar with digestion, it's basically using bacteria in an enclosed vessel that converts organic material into methane. You see it in wastewater plants. In this case, we'd be using, instead of wastewater or sludge, we'd be using recovered organic material to make that biogas, enhancing and expanding the ability to generate more power with that on top of the landfill gas. So the economy of scale for us really is important in this, and this is a project that actually would accommodate that. Next slide, please. Oh, I'm sorry, go back one, excuse me. There we go. So really for us, the next steps are really about getting in front of our board as well as the council, getting feedback, information, concerns raised early on so that we can address those. And the next step would really be to begin that process, the CEQA and the environmental review process, which is the first step on any kind of a project like this to make sure that we're addressing any issues that may arise from projects like this. But this is a top to bottom renewable energy project. And so that makes it, we think, very worthwhile and worth our time and effort to at least explore it now and move it forward in the process with both council and our full board of directors as well. Thank you. With that, I'm going to turn over to Tim Israel with Amoresco. Again, Amoresco is our partner, and they'll have a large role in this, particularly around the biogas utilization. So, Tim.
Thank you. I'm a project developer for Amoresco. Amoresco is a publicly traded clean energy development and efficiency company. So we're a large company that does this type of work all the time. We've developed, as you can see, 700 megawatts of renewable power generation across the country, over $1 billion in assets, 1,500 employees, 60 offices, and we're the largest developer of landfill and biogas in the state. Next. It's just a little graphic showing where those projects are. 10 of those projects are up and operating. 3 more of them are going to be converted into landfill gas to renewable natural gas projects. So that's where you clean the landfill gas up and then utilize it by putting in a pipeline. So we're really excited about that. This project here is more of an electricity project, and we have an existing project up there as mentioned by Patrick. Next slide. That project currently is one big engine, really big engine, and that runs all the time, generates about 1.5 megawatts. But we use only maybe a third of the landfill gas. And so that's where the value comes in to be able to use that gas. And we're well positioned to develop that. The engines also, or generator, depending on what type of device we generate the electricity with, can also use the biogas from the anaerobic digesters that Machado and Sons would be constructing. So these plants will provide nice, steady baseline renewable power. So it's not solar where it works 8 hours a day, and then you have to have a battery or something. These are good baseline projects. Next slide. So our role in the project is we're currently the facility, the operator, owner, and rights holder, which is really important. We propose to own and construct the new facility and operate that. We'll also finance it. So that'll include obtaining all the permits, staying in compliance with those permits, and being a good neighbor to the community. So that's Ameresco. Thank you.
Go to the next slide, please. My name's Sean Kilgore. I'm a project executive for Machado and Sons. Machado and Sons is a Central Valley located, headquartered in the Central Valley, does work up and down Northern California, mostly stay in the Central Valley, but we branch out to places like this. This project is a culmination of a collaboration between Machado and Taylor Farms. It goes back 5 years. We recognize the problem of potentially 300 tons a day of coals coming from their processing facilities. And what do you do with that, right? Well, the answer is actually anaerobic digestion. It's better than going to a concentrated feedlot or landing, applying it, or going to the landfill. So we collaborated with local contractors that we know that can act as, mechanical, electrical, and we would, of course, handle all the structural components of the site. And we've priced it. We've taken it to really a budgetary process where we have a high confidence in what we're doing. The applications on the market, somewhat limited, it expands with potential for electric vehicles, but that has sort of gone away because the pipeline is so far away. So what the logical step then is, okay, produce electricity. And we think that the coals problem, along with the collaboration with Taylor Farms, represents a circular economy here that really is unparalleled. You think about, we're growing the food here, the waste is processed here in Gonzales, and now we'd be generating electricity with that waste. So the fact that the way we've designed it, where we've located it, will accommodate those 300 tons a day, but also has potential for expansion and with the landfill. So that would alleviate, take a big part of the problem away from that coals issue that the valley faces every day. So we're excited. I mean, it's been a lot of commitment from the Machado organization and the other contractors who have really participated at this at risk. And we brought it to this point. You can see that the biogas digesters that are represented there, company from Austria who's done these projects all over the world. So we do have high degree of confidence there. With the budget, we think we can get this thing to a point where it's completed and functional in an economical way. And that's hard with some of these projects. There's been lots of failures, but the industry is progressing. I mean, in the Central Valley, we've built almost 100 miles of biogas pipeline from dairies to a central location to be able to generate power. Here we can do it all in one place with the potential for expansion. So thank you. Look forward to your questions if you have any as we go through this. I'll bring Randy Puro back up to finish this out.
Thank you, Sean. As you all know, Taylor Farms has a major commitment to the city of Gonzales, and they're one of the largest employers in the city. They are also a 50% owner with me of the Heavenly Valley Ranch property. So that they are interested in multi ways. And in addition, they are generating the 300 tons or so of daily coals from the Gonzales salad plant. And so that's a way to effectively keep those in the community and make them into productive green energy. They are very supportive of this project, and it fits into their company-wide ethos of low carbon renewable energy projects, and they have a track record of doing that. So that's another significant participant in this, and I'm thrilled with all of these partners. I mean, this project can't be done by one person or one entity. And I think we have the best team around to do this. Next slide, please. So there is a phase two. We're not going to talk much about that today. Phase one is moving forward. But phase two is to generate some more renewable energy with the solar project. And then, as mentioned, solar only provides energy during the daytime. And so there would also be a battery storage facility as well. And that would be on adjacent land within the Heavenly Valley Ranch property. And next slide, please. So if you take phase one and phase two and put them all on one slide, that's what it looks like. In addition, there is the possibility of building a substation for PG&E. They have expressed that this is the ideal location for their new substation. So that's encouraging. And then that allows to connect into the 115,000 kilovolt line that runs just to the east of the property. And so you could theoretically generate energy here, send it into the line, take it out at other times during the day, and also send it really across the Iverson Road over to Vista Lucia. And then from there, it would go on out throughout the city of Gonzales through the Gonzales Electric Authority. Next slide, please. So to sum up, we have phase one, phase two. Phase one, the lead agency is the Waste Authority. And so we're moving forward with them, as Patrick said, to get this in front of their team and work with them to make this happen. Amoresco is on board to join in, as is Machado and Sons. So it's a comprehensive group effort. On phase two, the lead agency will be the County of Monterey. And then we have retained Lombardo and Associates to be our planning consultant for the entitlement on that when we get to that. Next slide, please. So to recap, what we started with was that there is a mismatch today in terms of the future demand for electricity for City of Gonzales and the surrounding area, and the timing for PG&E to deliver that power. And we believe that this project is an opportunity and the solution for that. It creates green electricity at a much faster rate than PG&E says that they can do. And it also allows for expansion going forward into the future. Next slide, please. So why are we here? How can you all help us? And I think you can help in terms of supporting the city staff to work on a developer agreement and a developer reimbursement fund for the city, to also authorize the staff to and outside counsel as necessary to work on the project, support it as we move forward. And then a key aspect is that the third bullet point, which is to investigate the Gonzales Electric Authority's current status. What is their authority? What is their scope? What is their footprint? Because that seems to be a tremendous opportunity. It was a really smart thing to get in place, even though it's taken a while. But this could be the perfect way to activate that and to use it to really accomplish the goals of the city. So we're excited about that. That would require city attorney input as well as outside counsel who knows about electric authorities and all of that. Next slide, please. So this is the last slide. I think we're on time. So the next steps really are to answer your questions today, or after you've taken it back and digested it. We're available to meet with city staff and to answer any questions that you have and keep everybody apprised as we move forward. And then answer their questions, develop an action list, a timeline, and just start moving forward. And then, of course, the research the Gonzales Electric Authority's status. And with that, we'll take questions if you have them, or we will take questions later on. So thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate it. Thank you for coming in for a little bit early. And we're excited about the project and hope you are too. Thank you.
All right, go ahead and open it up for 5 minutes or 6 minutes more or less to ask questions. So we'll start on this side. Ms. Worthing, what questions do you have?
It's just so much right now that
You wanna
I
absorb it.
just want to think about it for a little bit.
Okay.
I just want to know how it's going to impact
Okay.
the area, but that'll give me some time.
Ms. Silva?
I'm excited to hear a lot of things that you were saying today. And the one thing that struck me, I think, was what Sean said with regards to the anaerobic digester. I serve as a representative from my city on the Solid Waste Authority Board. So anaerobic digestion has kind of been part of my vocabulary for the last 14 years or so. So would this be a closed loop system? I'm guessing.
It would, the processing would take place at Johnson Canyon landfill. We would then pipe the slurry over to 2 complete mixed reactors that would have a retention time around 30 to 40 days. It is the basic plan of that. And then the digestate would be released for other uses, either on the farm or dust control or rangeland application.
Okay, thank you.
That
Like I
answer your
said,
question?
it caught my ears and it
Okay, sure.
kind of got me all excited, going like, oh, good, I can come
And-
back and report that to my board next.
And we could talk for hours about it if you'd like, but yeah, so that's the technology coming in, the technology provider has done this type of project in Asia and Europe and other places. They have over 300 digesters working in the.
Well, it excites me also that our local ag companies will be able to process the culls in close proximity to their facilities and not have to haul garbage and thus kind of reduce that carbon footprint that
For
they're
sure.
doing out there. Because my career was in the ag industry and I just retired in December. So I know those culls, you have to haul them into the facility, then you have to pay somebody to haul them away, and then you got to pay somebody to process them. So if it's a lot closer, like I said, it gets me all excited. So I'm excited.
An
for
added
this project.
benefit in a lot of ways, so.
Thank you so much,
Oh, you're
everybody.
This is fun.
Yeah, no specific questions. Great project. So I highly encourage staff. Let's review and see what our possibilities are. Obviously, reimbursement, agreement will be necessary and so forth. And I know we're extremely tight on funds and so forth, and watching every dollar these days, every penny as well. But anyhow, it's I know we've been supportive. The direction of expansion and so forth, and I know we were talking about things like this several years ago, and so I'm glad to see this quite literally within arm's reach, and yeah, it'd be good to see us move forward. So
Great. Thank you.
So
Thank you. I agree with Lorraine. It's a lot of information coming forward, but I know that we've had some challenges with our electrical supply, and we do have those projects that are coming before us that you mentioned earlier. So I look forward to seeing us move forward with this project. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. I have a little bit of experience in this, and actually, I'm so happy that that meeting of August of last year has been really fruitful, I think. I knew that we were already in trouble before I even joined the council, just because of past history that I've had. The substation in Gonzales is literally a postage stamp. There is no way that thing should have been built there, and that's small. If you guys are, I'm sure, are all familiar with the 7th Street substation that serves our entire community. Well, not our entire community, because half of the community is being fed from Soledad. If you get drive into Soledad, they already have the 115 towers there at the substation. So that substation tends to be extremely reliable. We are fed by 60 kV, which is basically the wooden poles that you see that come along the slough area. And unfortunately, they also go up to Chular and all the way to Salinas. Have those been hit by a drunk driver in the past? Anybody want to guess? The steel towers, typically, we put them in places where, or PG&E puts them in places where they're not going to get hit. So it's a very, very reliable system. I would say that all said and done, we get a substation, we get these biodigesters. I think Gonzales is probably going to be pretty free of outages. assuming PG&E steps it up and builds that substation. And trust me when I tell you that I've been pushing just as hard as I can, everybody that's willing to lend me an ear. Because opportunities like this don't come around very often for PG&E. Anytime you ask a entity for 10 acres, it's either priced out of range or, I mean, think about this. Who has 10 acres is just freely give up and say, okay, we'll work with you. We'll give you, we'll sell you the 10 acres. Not very often. And about the only way that's done is when it's a huge subdivision, you tell the subdivision, you want power? You're not power. And usually subdivision will end up saying, okay, we'll give you, or we'll sell you the acreage. So I'm really excited, but Mr. Pura and company, I want you to know, this community was blessed to have Mr. Mendez here before, and he set up the electric utility system, and we were working with a vendor to provide basically solar at the industrial park. And the work around that was we were basically going to put in new power lines owned by the city, maintained by the city. The last meeting we had with PG&E, they were actually at the table willing to consider leasing us the lines, which is a lot cheaper, and I think a lot needed than tearing up all these streets. That project unfortunately has gone by the wayside. So when I hear that you've already got the financing for this one, I'm like, yeah. And this is something we're going to discuss as the council at a future meeting, but one of our biggest manpower, attorney time. You're looking at a community that's got 43 employees. That includes public works, police department, fire, and with few people you see in the office next door. So we're definitely going to be challenged if we choose to take this on. Again, I'm not saying yes or no. You brought a lot before us and we need to discuss it. The one question that I had, because as you mentioned, the San Lucia subdivision will literally be across the street on Iverson Road. So one concern that I have is those biodigesters, because we kind of have one of those already over in M&M Dairy. And when they water with that water on occasion, I mean, right, Mr. Orozco, your neighborhood, you're the first one out there. Yeah. Some really choice smells. My question
Sure.
for you will be, would these be sealed and to the point where you will not generate stink? I'm sure you will, so it's at some point.
Sean will answer that technically. However, we are also planning on the east part of the property. We're planting certified organic grapes. And obviously, we're very sensitive to the aromatics of our surrounding neighbors and surrounding activities on our property. And so in discussions with the biodigester developers, we said this is what we can allow, and it can't be smelly like that. So Sean, you want to answer?
So the coals will be delivered to the organic processing at Johnson Canyon and masticated or grinded there, right? And put into a slurry. From the time those coals hit the ground until they're processed, it's 72 hours is what we're given per calorie cycle, but our goal is to get it done before that. So within 24 hours of that, those coals hitting the processing center, they'll be in the pipeline and sent to the digesters through the pumping system and the slurry pipeline. Once they're there, that retention time they're completely sealed, by the way, there's no outlet to the atmosphere. That 30 days, I mean, those are 1.5 million gallon tanks, big as this room, and give or take, and there'll be 2 or 3 of those completely sealed. All the gas will be extracted. Any aromatics won't even have developed, but the sulfur that you get out of that you normally smell will be stripped before it hits the generators. So you should have, there's very little vectors, very little opportunity for that smell to come out of those digesters, unless there's a malfunction, which is very unlikely to happen. And then the scrubbing unit will take all the gas out, and then the digestate is literally just organic water. So there should be no offensive smells in this process.
And just to give you a heads up, and it really saddens me because I used to work for that entity and it seems like they just keep going downhill. My understanding is that interconnection right now is somewhere between 3 and 5 years and possibly up to 7. So I'm not sure if you've all started this process and have met with PG&E to kind of give them a heads up, because based on your comments today, you're gonna have more energy than what's needed by the entities that are out there.
Right.
So you're obviously gonna have to connect back into that substation, assuming PG&E gets off the dime and, starts designing that substation. And my concern is that, I hate to have you invest millions of dollars and just have them sit there with no way of really using all of it and not feeding it back into the
Right.
system. So,
So we are talking with PG&E, and Amoresco has looked at the local distribution line, the capacity available there, and there's not much. So phase one, I mean, if there's no offtake opportunity with phase one, what we would do is try to service the load there at the landfill, and whatever load we end up generating through the mastication process and the slurry pipeline, right? So first thing with offtake, yeah, if it's available, we'll certainly do that. Secondly, we'll service behind the meter loads, and then we'll look for additional offtake. And you're right, that substation does have to come in for that phase two expansion.
and,
Yeah.
I'm a member of 3CE, Central Coast Community Energy Partnership.
Yes, sir.
And that's been one of their crying things, is that we have to have enough reserve capacity for when the grid is at maximum.
Right.
And getting projects through PG&E and the Casio has been just like pulling teeth. So, I suggested to the director, I said, maybe we ought to do what other residential developers have done in the past. They've done their own engineering, they've designed the system, and then PG&E just connects. And I don't see why in this day and age with all the electrical geniuses out there that you guys couldn't hire somebody to basically walk it through the Casio and the CPUC and get it
That
done.
would be our intent. That would be and Amoresco was willing to back that up and help finance that as well.
Okay, so, well, I said, a lot of information, I appreciate your
Yep.
time and your effort, but really, I think as a council, we'd like to kind of mill it around a little bit
Absorb
and
it.
figure out how we can best partner with you, because since you will be adjacent to the development, I'd rather have you as friendly neighbors and not neighbors that we're at odds. So I don't know how the council feels about that, but that's my give and take. I definitely would like to know that, we're not creating a system where all these neighbors are gonna come in and go, oh, yeah, what did I buy here? This stinks, So, thank you. Unless
You're
there's other questions from staff, anybody else has got any additional comments or concerns? Now's the time to speak up. Michael? Kind of see you thinking.
Yeah, if staff can bring back a report,
Okay.
that'd be great in the
All right.
future, so.
Again, Mr. Perry and Company, thank you so much for presenting this. Like I said, this is, wow.
Wow.
It's exciting, but it's definitely a lot to digest. No pun intended.
All right.
All right, moving on the agenda. We have comments from the public. Anyone from the public may address the council for a period not to exceed 3 minutes. The council will listen to all communications, but will make no comments and take no action. Anyone from the public wishing to comment on any item not on the agenda?
Spring break.
All right, yeah, it looks like it. See nobody rushing up. I will check with Marisol. Marisol, do we have anyone on Zoom?
No comments via Zoom.
Mary, any comments via email?
No comments via email.
Consent agenda. Moving on to the consent agenda, I'll close the public comment period and bring it back to council. Consent agenda. I only have one question, and there's on the warrants. I still saw a warrant there for our good friends Swinnerton. So I'm wondering how much longer we keep bleeding.
So Mayor Rios Council, the transition between Harrison Associates and Swinnerton has taken longer than what was anticipated. They're not working very much on the project, and it's just one individual, and so there's items that predate Harrison Associates involvement that they need to close out. So two things. One of them is the baseline schedule, and Swinnerton provided comments back in August, and auto construction, the contractor's been very slow in updating that, and that the transition has occurred over the schedule, but it's just taken a long time to get the schedule, baseline schedule that we want to see before construction begins. Another item that Swinnerton is involved in is we have a cost trend log as to things that we're adding, things that we're taking out of the project. And some, number of these, again, predate Harrison Associates involvement. We're wrapping these things up. We're done as of the end of March with Swinnerton. I know that it's gone on longer, but there's reasons it's gone on longer.
So, Mr. Dobbins, are you assuring us that this will be the last one we see?
Well, I don't know what period, let's see, I don't know what period this certain invoice is. So there may be another invoice to come because this will be probably services during February.
Because this was 15,000, a little over 15,000, I
And-
think.
And I'd have to look at I believe that's more than 1 month. But I'd have to look.
All right. If there's any other questions or items that anyone here would like to pull, please mention that. If not, I'll entertain a motion for approval of the consent.
So moved.
Have a motion. approved.
Second.
Second, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
So the next item is the Monterey Salinas Transit.
Transit, project.
Correct. So it's a presentation on their circulator project, and I'll kick this off, and then Vince Dang, project manager with MST, is going to jump in. And there's 2 items attached to the staff report. One is the project plans. The other is the slide deck that Vince will be stepping through. So this is an effort that's been around a couple of years, and I think among the highlights is that it will replace the dial-a-ride service that we currently have here in Gonzales. And so Monterey Salinas Transit is doing this in the South Valley cities. So they're moving through this and the set of plans. It's because I believe King City is done. And so the plan set that they have is Gonzales, Soledad, and Greenfield. So what's attached to the packet is just what's applicable to the city of Gonzales. So instead of the dial-a-ride service, there will now be a circulator running a fixed route on a 40-minute time frame. We looked at the project plans. We met with MST staff last fall. We drove each proposed site. City staff made some adjustments, including extending it into the business park. I think it's important to highlight that there are a number of stops that will require the removal of parking. And, just, in the totality of the 11 bus stops, some of which are existing, a couple are existing, one's being relocated at Meyer Park. And so we'll lose, again, 11 bus stops, and we'll be losing 22 parking spaces in totals. Some of them, where we have existing stop, not much of an impact, but where we have new stops, we're going to be losing between 3 and 4 parking spaces. I think one of the points to highlight is, yes, they'll be using a smaller bus on the circulator, but should that vehicle be out of service, they're planning to bring in a larger bus, and that's what compels these longer 70 to 80 foot red zones for the bus stops. And with that, I'm ready to turn it over to Vince. Who's going to make the presentation, Michelle?
I will. Thanks, Patrick.
Hey, Michelle.
Can city staff put up the PowerPoint, or should I share from my screen?
She's bringing it up.
Well, good evening, everyone. Michelle Overmeyer. I'm the Director of Planning and Innovation with Monterey Salinas Transit. As Patrick said, city staff had invited us to give a presentation to you this evening and get you updated on fixed route service in Gonzales. So I'll run through a few slides and then I can answer some questions at the end. The next slide, please. This slide shows our current fixed route service that operates in the city of Gonzales. So line 23 extends from King City all the way up to Salinas 7 days a week. The express routing was implemented a couple years ago as part of MST's effort to make The full line 23, a shorter runtime for those that use the full extent route. The express routing uses less surface streets in the cities that it serves, and it saves about 8 minutes of operating time just in Gonzales. Next slide, please. Line 31 will be a local fixed route circulating through the city of Gonzales for residents and workers who need or want public transit, but don't necessarily need to leave the city. Features of line 31 are shown there on the left, and they include dedicated bus stops throughout the city that most residents can access within a 5-minute walk shed, access to key destinations in the city, connections for line 23 for those people that need to go in or out of the city, and an option for Corda Camp residents to access the service at certain times of the day. This route will replace the general public on-call service that's currently operating in Gonzales. But I want to mention that the rides program is going to remain in place for those individuals with physical or cognitive disabilities that require that door-to-door service. So that's going to stay in place. Next slide, please. So MST has been planning improved service to South County for about 6 years. In 2019, we completed the Salinas Valley Express Transit Corridor Planning Study that highlighted the growing need for South County communities as the cities expand. We just heard about that in the prior presentation. In 2020, we initiated the Line 31 route concept in coordination with the city staff and your representative on MST's board, Councilmember Worthy. We took that draft routing concept out to the public for a reaction. We asked, what did we get right? What needs to be adjusted? In 2021, the MST Board of Directors approved the final plan. And over the last 2 years, we've been working with city staff on the final design of the individual bus stop locations to ensure compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act. Gonzales staff requested some additional changes to the routing last year, and we asked the engineer to conduct the additional design work. And MST submitted the encroachment permit request to the city last month. Next slide. A big effort was made to involve the community before MST's board approved the plan. This slide here lists all the methods of outreach that we engaged in, including presenting to your council, Spanish radio ads, and utility bill inserts, along with social media and advertisements at our bus stops. Next slide, please. So like I said, we submitted the encroachment permit to the city last month, and we're beginning the procurement phase for a construction contractor. We plan to award the contract this summer and have work completed later this year. So if all goes smoothly, Line 31 will be operating later this year or early 2025. Next slide. And then to wrap this all up, I'll just say that this project is years in the making. I appreciate the public's involvement over the years. And as Gonzales is growing and expanding, MST is looking forward to serving your needs. Thank you.
That concludes our presentation.
Okay. Does council have any questions for staff? If not, I'll go ahead and open this up to the public for comments. Okay, I'll open this item up for the public. Anyone from the public wishing to make a comment on this item and do so at this time. And seeing nobody rushing up to the podium, I will go ahead and ask Marisol, do we have anyone via Zoom?
No comments via Zoom.
Thank you. Mary, any comments via email?
No comments via email.
Okay, and I'll close the public hearing up and bring it back to council for a council discussion or action. Take either or.
Okay, if I may,
Yes, you
I
may.
want to thank Michelle and Patrick, our Public Works and Carmen for finally getting this thing going. I know it's been a long process. We've been working on it for a long time, and I really think that this is going to be very helpful. I just had one question, Michelle, and that was, once the construction begins, how long does it take to complete the construction of the circulators?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. I guess it depends on traffic, any other, weather-related, incidents. I would say several weeks, but we're planning to have it done by the end of this year.
The reason I asked the question is because one of my concerns was, do we begin construction when kids aren't in school? Or do we do construction when the kids are in school? It doesn't seem to affect those locations based on what we have, but I just wanted to kind of put that in the back of my mind. But everything looks great, and I just want to thank you. At least that's my opinion. I don't know how the rest of my colleagues feel. So it's just been a long process, and I know it's been kind of frustrating for all of us. So thank you to MST staff and to our staff for getting this going.
Do you wish to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve this and to move forward as
Yeah,
soon
we're
as
just, I
possible.
think we're just receiving, yeah, we're just receiving it. So
Yeah, I mean, it's done. I mean,
Yeah.
it's done.
Okay,
So
so we're just receiving the report, so we know no
Yeah.
action is needed. Fantastic.
thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Mhm.
And I will go ahead and move on to item 9. Consider approval of resolution number 2024-09. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Gonzales, authorizing city manager to submit a grant application to the California Department of Water Resources for the flood emergency response program upgrade.
Chief Musio is actually going to take this one on.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is just a procedural thing. What you have before you tonight is a resolution that's authorized the city manager to submit the grant application to the California Department of Water Resources, CDW. The resolution is required as part of the application packet. So that's why it's in front of you. But I just want to take a few minutes to explain to you how we got to this point. So at the council's direction, staff has been actively searching for and pursuing grant opportunities. We've been looking for money wherever we could find it, right? This opportunity came to us through our contacts with Cal OES. At first, we kind of just pushed to the side, but then after looking at it a bit further, we thought that it could possibly be a potential source of funding for an emergency alert system like Nixle. If you recall, Patrick and I tried to get that going back during COVID, but the times being what they were, we weren't able to make that happen. So it's just been kind of hanging there, not really forgotten, but just trying to find a way to make it work. With some help from Elizabeth Diaz at Armanasco, we reached out to the DWR and we were to see if that project could be funded under this grant, and we were told, yes, it is fundable. As stated in the staff report, we submitted a letter of intent to the DWR and they responded that our project would be funded. Now we have to do the paperwork. Kind of a backwards process than what we're used to, but this is where we're at. So when the paperwork is done and we're awarded the money, the grant will fund the setup and maintenance of the emergency alert system for 5 years. The system will be used to notify residents in the case of flood or other emergencies. As part of the project, we also included flood fighting materials, including sandbags and tools, as well as a storage container that will be placed on the city-owned property on the end of Harold Parkway. That's so residents on the east side will have access to sandbags if they need them. Right now, we only have one sandbag station at Brusa Field. And as we know, there is the potential for the east side to become cut off from the west side during large flood events. So in conclusion, the grant will help increase our flood response capability and our ability to keep our residents informed during times of emergencies. And I'm ready for any questions if you have.
See no questions?
I don't have any questions, but I'm just really excited about this opportunity. You know, I would get a few phone calls from folks when we had the floods and we had the fires and where can we get this and where can we get that? And I know I would reach out to you a couple of times and you would have the answer for me, but this is certainly going to make it so much easier for our residents to be able to have that access to that information. Thank you again.
Yeah,
Jason.
it's been something that we really wanted to get for quite a while. I think, you know, I can think of 50 times during the fires, it would have been great to be able to put out accurate, correct information.
Right.
And have the ability to put it out to the residents, basically whether they want to get it or not. You know, we have the ability to push those notifications out to cell phones, so it's gonna be huge for us, I think.
It
moving
is.
forward.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
It was a challenge to, I sort of have a communication chain of people that live in different neighborhoods, and I would call them up and they would kind of pass the information. So this will take away that job.
Good job, good job.
All right, I'll go ahead and then open this item up for the public. Anyone from the public wishing to comment on this item may do so at this time. And again, seeing no one rushing the podium, I will go ahead and ask Marisol if we have any via Zoom.
No comments via Zoom.
Mary, any comments via email?
No comments via email.
Okay, then I will go ahead and close the public comment period up and bring it back to council discussion or action.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
let's do rock, paper, scissors. I move that we adopt resolution number 2024-09 as presented.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, if I could just add, I just want to share with the council that Chief Musio and I have been very busy submitting multiple grants for the fire department. We've submitted at least 3 or working on 3 big grants. So want to commend Chief Musio for jumping on board, and although we're pulling out our hair at times, we are busy finding grants and submitting grant applications to support our fire department.
Great, thank you. Thank you for your hard work.
One
Maybe
key
one day we
good
get rid of our Monasco. Sorry. I just hate to see all that money go out there. Anyway, moving on, public hearing. This is item number 10, public hearing to adopt waive reading and read by title only, ordinance number 2024-142. And ordinance of the City Council of the City of Gonzales, California, amending chapter 4.56. Sometimes they're good, and sometimes they cheat on me here. Taxables?
Taxi cabs.
Taxi cabs of Title IV Business and License Regulations of the Gonzales City Code. Staff report.
Well, the proposal before you is much simpler than even reading that title, I believe. So as presented at an earlier council meeting at the first reading, this ordinance is a simple way to disencumber our local governmental permitting processes to encourage taxi cab service in the city. Anecdotally today, I just, rubbed elbows with the chief and basically said that we hadn't in 15 years had somebody approach us through our current written ordinance to say, I'd like you to, check out my cab, check out my basic background license, and I'd like to provide service. And you say, not 15 years. And right now, as this is coming to a head, we've had, as I mentioned even the last time, Yellow Cab is wanting to do business, and we're just thrilled. And I said, well, we kind of, caught the baton from King City and getting on board with if a taxi cab service goes through the licensing and credentials at the Regional Taxi Authority and comes and they pass that background, get a business license with us, start business. And so that's simply what it is there's a proviso included in our ordinance that says if a taxi cab company comes with that credential in hand, that the police department and all the rigmarole of testing out their car and their background doesn't need to happen because it's already been done. And as far as us, we can trust that the public processes and public safety has been assured because of that credential. So really, so this should change that. And with that, I'd actually just go to the recommendation to conduct the hearing, waive the second reading, and adopt this ordinance of the City Council, amending the section 4.56 of taxi cabs and our business license and regulations. I can answer other questions if you have, but it's really a pretty simple deal, and it appears we've got somebody ready to do business now.
Great. Council, any questions for staff? If not, I'll go ahead.
It's a transit kind of day. And
That's
the City
right.
Council.
It
It is.
It is.
Yeah, things moving in.
Yes, and to that end, I'll go ahead and open this up for the public. Anyone from the public wishing to comment on this item may do so at this time. And again, see nobody rushing the podium, I'll go ahead and ask Marisol. Marisol, do we have anyone via Zoom?
No comments via Zoom.
Mary, do we have any comments via email?
No comments via email.
And since this is reading by title only, do we need any action, Michael?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
We already read the time, you already read the time.
Okay. To that end, do I have that motion?
Move to adopt.
Second,
Moved in second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on. The youth council is on vacation.
Actually,
I apologize.
Um,
I apologize. Go ahead, youth council, your
Sorry.
report.
oh, no, it's fine. Sorry I came in here late. This was kind of, Ms. Malia and Commissioners, Luke were unable to attend today, so I'll be subbing in for them today. My name is Maria Cardenas. Hello, council. And I am the ambassador for the GRC and I'll be doing the report. For like the latest news from the Youth Council, we had done a workshop at the Gonzales High Youth Mental Health Summit. It was very successful. There was, I believe, 30 participants for the workshop, and we had a stand at the beginning where youth commissioners and youth council members were able to talk about the research project we had regarding the surveys with Dr. Lavelle. It was very informational and very successful. Today I saw in the newspaper that we were on the front cover, so that was cool. Besides that event, we have been working on, for our action projects for the tenants' rights, we have been working on a survey to ask tenants of Gonzales High questions regarding their comfortability in housing and with their landlords. We had it reviewed with city manager Carmen and also with some of our advisors to have the questions adjusted to be more appropriate and also to expand for housing questions regarding future projects that are be building here in Gonzales for residents. We had a meeting last week revising the questions, so we'll still be working on that. We hope to have those submitted by April this month or sometime this April. And we will also be, we would have been working with the Dr. Lavelle on continuous survey for the mental health project. This time we are focusing on parents rather than students. We are still targeting students, but more so we're trying to have the perspective of parents and with the relationship with mental health, trying to identify any stigmas they may have or any barriers and challenges they have in finding resources or having that connection and communication with their children regarding their own mental health and their children's mental health. So that's also in the wraps. We are working with Dr. Lavelle and some of her colleagues, some of her new students, I believe. And oh, and we do have the youth forum going on, and I'm part of some of the committees for the youth forum that we're trying to do in Soledad. The location is going to be, I believe, in the middle school, Main Street in Soledad, and we're working with like Greenfield, Soledad, and Gonzales to have like a combined youth council forum to target other youth council members. But it's still in the wraps. We're working right now on identifying the budget and resources that what do we want to have there. We have our mission statement, committed and passionate members. So it's running smoothly.
awesome.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
All right, moving over to the council reports, and I think I have 3 of them, and if it's okay with you, Ms. Silva, if I'll go ahead and run through all 3 of mine, and that way I can just leave yours. Okay, so my first one is TAMC. I gotta share with you that it's kind of scary when you have all these public projects. So one of the projects is a nature trail that's being developed along Delray Oaks and through Seaside, and long-term it's going to kind of wrap around the entire community so folks can actually take a walk around there. the project cost went up 45% from initial, it went out to bid. And all of them, and the lowest bid was Granite Rock, and it was still 45% more than what was budgeted and proposed. And of course, their comments was cost of material, cost of labor, et cetera, the usual. But it's kind of scary how quickly things are rising. I mean, I remember you could get 4 loaves of bread at the bakery, now you get 1 for the same price. And actually, I think it's now up to $1.25 a loaf. So, what do you do? What do you do? Well, you stop eating bread, but all these projects that TAMC is committed to, you know, the prices are going up. You know, the 156, that was a huge faux pas when PG&E came at that ridiculous price, but wasn't surprised by it, but you know, it was what, on that one, staff budgeted far too little. On this other one, though, it's, you know, it's a nature trail. It's, you know, you're cutting a path, you're building, anyway. I just thought it was ridiculous. So did Supervisor Church, and he felt that, you know, either staff is falling down or how can these costs be going up so high? Long discussion, and that was about the gist of the entire meeting. We are starting to see a lot of NIMBYism on the Highway 68 corridor. There's a lot of folks that are coming out and really not even trying to give the roundabouts a chance. Personally, I haven't used them in 2 years, but when my wife has used them in Marina, I think they work extremely well. No stop sign, just kind of follow the circle and you're out. All right, the Mayor Select Committee, that's this Friday. I don't have anything to report back yet, so we meet Friday. And finally, the other one is the 3CE. We haven't met, so that's my report. And now we have Ms. Silva on the Salinas Recycles.
Yep. So, this Saturday, April 6th at 11 a.m. up at the Johnson Canyon landfill, they're going to have the grand opening of the education center that they have just completed up there. Public is invited. There will be buses to transport people, and I believe they're going to leave from Gonzales High School area. If anybody needs information, call me because I don't have the exact routes, but I think it's going to be right around 5th Street. Maybe it's from the Gabilan Court area. You park there and take the buses up. I've been asked to say a few words at the start of it since I'm from here, and so I agreed. So that'll be this Saturday. Take kids out.
What time again?
It starts at 11, so just be at the school at around 10:30 so you can catch the bus to go up there. They are going to be just shuttling people. They prefer people not to drive up there, but to be shuttled up there. It's going to be very exciting. I think what I saw was, if you're all familiar with Wally Waste Not, it's their little character. They have there's a design of flower beds that looks like Wally Waste Not. So when you get there, you'll be able to see. I saw an overhead picture, looks pretty cool. And the education center itself is built in those big shipping containers that have been repurposed. So anyhow, I hope to see some of you out there on Saturday. Our next board meeting will be on Thursday, April 18th at 6 p.m. here in our council chambers. And that's all I have today.
Great. Oral communication from staff.
Are we skipping oral communications from council members first?
Okay, sure. Lorraine, you want to start? I'll pause it.
Okay, real quick, last time I told you that we had the winners of the essay contest at the school, and I want to announce their names today. First place was Joel Gutierrez, second place was Jacob Tomines, and third place was Celeste Medina Fregosa. And we had an assembly last week. Council member Silva and I both attended. Miss Garcia was the English teacher for Fairview School. And it was a great day. She asked questions of the students, and I'm very excited to say that I think we'll be able to continue to do this every year. We also had a winner from the high school, not from our high school, unfortunately, but from our American Legion Auxiliary, which was Grace Ariano. So she was the high school winner. So that's all I have, but I just have one more thing that I want to bring to Carmen's attention. And if she could maybe put it on the agenda. We had a discussion in our meeting regarding a cleanup project here in town that I would like us to have a discussion about. She knows what I'm talking about, so I don't need to get into detail tonight, but I'm hoping that we can either put it on the agenda with some of the questions that I had for you at our meeting. So that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Ms. Silva?
No, I did go by the community garden this weekend and I noticed that we do have a third planter out there, so I was real excited to see that up. And then the only other thing is to remind everybody that April is the month that we celebrate Earth Day, which I think the first one was back in the late sixties for some of you who were too young to remember that. But anyhow, just to remind everybody about how we do recycle things. And as Patrick mentioned earlier, you know, how do we repurpose things and send things to the right places? It's been an education for me. My mother's 94 and she's doing the right thing by channeling all of her food waste into the right bins. Takes a little getting used to, but she did it. And if she can do it, I think everybody can. Let's all do our part. Thank you.
Also, Ms. Silva, or Mr. Mayor, if I may,
Yes.
I should have asked you, we do have a fundraiser for the American Legion Auxiliary, which will be held on April 18th from 4:30 to 7 o'clock. It's a hamburger takeout. You can contact either myself or Ms. Silva for tickets, which we will be distributing in the next couple of days. Thank you.
Thank you. No problem. Mr. Funk?
Actually, Mr. Mayor, nothing tonight. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Roscoe?
Thank you. I hope everybody had a great Easter. I was busy at the shop with all the Easter baskets. I think at the end of the day, I only had one left. But people were asking me as they were coming in, if the city would consider doing an Easter egg hunt for the kids. And I said, well, you know, money is tight, but if we had some sponsors, so someone did offer to sponsor maybe for next year. So I thought that was really good. I also would like to mention that St. Theodore's Church is having their annual reverse draw, June 14th. Early bird price for the ticket, a ticket is $125 if you purchase it before May the 12th. I have tickets, so does Councilmember Liz. We would appreciate your support. And I'd also like to see if we can bring back to council, Carmen, we haven't had a chance to meet. We've just been really busy. But I know a while back we discussed, we were discussing the appraisal of properties, of the property next to Canyon Creek. We had worked with an appraiser to bring back some costs for what we should be charging for that property. And I know that we've also had discussions about other city-owned properties that we have and how these leases are coming up. And we should really take a look at, you know, what we've been charging for rental of these properties. I know that next door, their lease is coming up here pretty soon. So I think would be a good time to either, you know, contact an appraiser or work with a commercial realtor to see what they would suggest for rental of our properties. So we'd like to have that come back at some time
So
soon.
I believe the one next door, Renee, and with Michael's approval, extended it from 3 years to 5 years because of how much of an investment they were making on the property. Correct me if I'm wrong, Michael. Okay, so it's 2 years.
Did it come before council for approval?
It didn't have to, it was given, it was, yeah, Renee and Michael had set that up so that they had that discretion to be able to allow or give them additional time. And they asked for 2 more years because
So is that discretion allowed on other
that
properties or other issues that come before council when we pass resolutions to approve certain conditions on permits or agreements? I mean, I find that to be strange. You know, we approved it, it came before council, we had public hearing, we had,
in the contract, if you read the whole
Wow.
thing, there was that provision that Mr. Mendez
interesting.
had the discretion to extend the lease an additional 2 years. I didn't read the entire contract, but certainly Michael and Renee did. And And they asked for additional time because of the amount of money they were investing in the property. They basically gutted it.
Right.
I agree with you. They got a heck of a deal. So
Yep.
in 2 years, I would definitely highly encourage staff to relook at that cost and charge appropriately. But obviously, it's been quite successful for them, and so I doubt that they're, hurting for money. So. I just wanted to bring that up now rather than say, why haven't we increased the price on them? And like I said, I wanted to just bring that to your attention that Mr. Mendez shared with me that they asked for additional 2 years and they granted it because of the amount of money that they invested in the property to bring to.
Well, I'm sorry, but I find that
That was,
reason totally. So what it does it sets a precedent for any other company or individual who wants to come in and rent one of our facilities to do the same thing, to want to do the same thing.
well, then I would
Anyway,
suggest-
it's
But
whatever.
point of order, we should return
I'm
back
just
to
dumbfounded
our
by that.
councilmember updates.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Yeah, so we should allow,
Like I said, I just wanted to share that. with-
understood, but we've turned to a discussion and this is
Okay.
not agendized. So
Yeah.
we should allow Ms. Councilmember Rose to
Is there
finish.
anything else, Mr. Roscoe?
Thank you.
Okay. I had 3 items. One was Mr. Martinez, Henry Martinez called and he had a valid concern. That's why I'm surprised he's not here. The last time we had the heavy rain, there was no flashing yellows put on 10th and Alta, because that area tends historically to get extremely wet. And I've seen a couple cars, and again, it's their own fault. They were flying down the road and I saw one hydroplane do this jobby, but he said there was no warning signs for folks driving into Gonzales on those particular days that we had that heavy rain. So I just want to share that with you. Secondly, have you got an update on the signage for the traffic on Fifth Street?
I'm gonna provide that under staff
Okay,
comments.
all right. Then thirdly, I'd like to ask council how you would feel about moving the meeting time up a half hour to 5:30 rather than 6 o'clock. If this is something you would consider, then it's something that would have to be brought back to us because it's in the ordinance that it typical, our starting time is 6 o'clock, but because we had the workshop today, it wasn't part of the council discussion or action. If we want to move the time up, I mean, because, there's several people here that commute quite a ways. I know Tavin is in Pacific Grove, Patrick's all the way in Prunedale, Chief Weiss is in Salinas. And
Chief News shows across town, so it takes a while.
And Jason's all the way across town, so does Carmen. But I'm just saying, rather than having to sit here for a whole hour waiting for the meeting to start.
Yeah.
A half hour, I think it's more than adequate time to prepare to get this meeting going. I know staff has to, set up the computer and whatnot, so, but I'm half hours.
Well, I think, people who work in Salinas that live here in Gonzales, that would like to attend, or that attend are stuck in traffic, and it's challenging for sometimes to even get here at 6 o'clock.
Well, I guess if I saw the room completely fill on a regular basis with folks that commute from Salinas comment, I guess I could see that, but. Just a thought.
I don't know, it's,
I'm tired, I'm okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Me too.
Well, let's have staff bring it back and,
Bring back.
yeah.
we're not,
And through the chair, we can do that by way of. We can do that by way of resolution. We don't have to make an ordinance change, so what we can do is just bring a resolution back and then you folks can discuss it, take comment from the public and so forth, and then decide whether or not you want to take action.
Okay, sounds good. Michael, what's that do for you? I mean, because I just realized you're the one commuting the furthest, because you're coming all the way from the Bay Area.
It'll be fun. Good.
I mean, I'm just thinking also, if you got out of here a half hour earlier, maybe get home at a decent hour.
We just have to promise to end our meetings earlier than.
Well, okay, do the best we can. So if you could bring that back, I'd appreciate it. All right, okay, now moving forward with staff comments.
So I just have very short comments to make. We are in April, and so our really busy season kicks off now, as of now. Just reminder for you that April 20th is our car show. 1 to 4 cars will show up as early as 8, 9 o'clock. So do just take note of that. Streets will need to be cleared. So if your car is not off 4th Street, you will get a knock on the door, or our PD or fire will come find you. So make sure to move your car at the allotted time. And then April 27th is our exciting groundbreaking for our Dennis and Janice Capera Community Center. We invite all the public to join us at 1 o'clock, as well as we will have a program and the band to help kick off the festivities of the day. And then, of course, we go into Cinco de Mayo and everything else that comes after that. So we have a very busy summer ahead of us.
When you just made me think, are we gonna have Dia de los Niños this year at the end of
Yes.
April?
Yes, that's the last Sunday in April, so that's
The
usually
28th.
28th,
28th?
29th, 28th.
I hadn't heard, and all of a sudden, when you said end of April, it's like, oh my gosh.
Yep, it's already. Does anybody?
A little bit.
Mayor Rios, council members, the quick summary of the Fifth Street truck ban is that several years ago, yes, the city council adopted resolution establishing Fifth Street from US 101 freeway to Alta as a truck ban. And engaged a consultant who prepared the sign package, which included a number of signs out on US 101. So long haul trucks going to the business park would get off either at North Alta or at the Glory Road interchange. We received a Caltrans encroachment permit, and we went out to bid about a year ago. And the engineer's estimate was on the order of $35,000. In mid-August, we opened the single bid that was submitted, and it was $72,000. And unfortunately, we do not have the funding in our road funds or in our industrial business park assessment district to pay for that. One highlight is in the bid that we received, there was $25,000 for traffic control on US 101. That was this line item, $25,000. In talking to consultants who helped me get this out to bid was, well, what we could do is city buys the signs and install, and Public Works would install them within the city. Oh, then we'd go find a contractor to install them on US 101. Just to be blunt, one of the constraints to delivering public works projects is the city manager's signature authorization for consulting services of $5,000. So anything over $5,000, they need to come before the city council, which requires us an RFP process. It's time consuming. In the last couple of months, I've written staff reports regarding, I think, an $8,000 contract. And then I think it was about a month ago, around a $12,000 contract. Those, in my opinion, should be available at the signature of the city manager. So it is an impediment to deliver public works projects. That's my report.
Michael, was that what Renee had previously as authorization? It was.
No, I'm trying to remember, I think by the time Renee left, we had, 10,000.
Yeah. Would that have to come back to council as?
So what I right now, 55.
Yeah, well, with the cost of everything going up, I mean, 5,000 is chump change. So maybe that's something we ought to look at in the future. Reauthorizing the city manager or hiring them out.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, I think it should be brought back. I mean, there was a discussion of why we did that. Due to there was a point in our recent past that we didn't want to repeat. But
moving on.
I think we're now at a good point where we can increase that.
Yep.
I had just one little thing to touch on is that on next Monday, April 8th, I'm bringing a revised sign ordinance to the Planning Commission, where I hope to get a recommendation to the City Council for your decision to bless a revised sign ordinance on May 6th. And ironically, with enabling electronic freeway reader boards where we can have a revenue opportunity, maybe we could also put a message on there that says, don't get off at 5th Street if you're a big truck.
It's an idea.
So I just want to let you know that we're going to the planning commission on that, on this coming Monday.
Great.
And we'll follow as soon as we can put the notice in the paper and get back to you the first meeting in May.
Great. Thank you very much.
I just have one quick
Sure,
thing.
absolutely.
Just want to let the council know, Christian Avina has moved on from the fire department. His last shift was last week. Christian Avina, Captain Avina, big guy. He's moved on. So right now, Captains Vasquez and Prater are picking up all his shifts. We have received to date 6 applications for firefighter, and I'm probably gonna start that selection process. I'm thinking next week, we're gonna start whittling those down.
Cool.
That's
And
it.
Christian ended up where?
Christian went to San Jose Fire,
Oh, wow, good for him.
and there's quite a few from Monterey County that have been poached by San Jose
Yeah.
Fire. A lot of the chiefs are,
Mhm. Yep.
anyways, you can imagine.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah,
He's gonna be lost.
he is. Fine young man. We're gonna move on to closed session. The city council will recess to closed session pursuant to government code section 54956. Is it 0.9? Yeah, 0.9A.
Mhm.
To confer with its attorney regarding pending litigation which has been initiated formally and to which the city is a party. Madera versus the city of Gonzales. So we stand adjourned and move on to closed session. We'll wait till we clear the council chambers.